So, Mark, did you see that opening day flyer for Vegas Vicky and Glitter Gulch from 1980? Opened on October 1st. She's 44 years old. And a lot of people don't know that Vegas Vicky was brought to us by the same person that brought us Strat.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to see, and I think she looks better than ever now, in her new home and all done up and looks great.
A lot of people don't know Glitter Gulch was a casino before it was a strip club.
Yeah, it only took, a little over a decade for that thing to fold up and her to become a stripper.
This week is October 1st. We talked about Glitter Gulch. October 1st is notable for another reason. It was the big shooting 7 years ago, and we had the anniversary this week. And they had a ceremony for the launch of the memorial that they're building on the old site there. And we got better looks at it. And I think this is going to open for the 10th anniversary. Some of the features of it: a 58-foot tall tower of light which will be highly visible from anywhere. It's beautiful. When you see it from the sky, I think it's an infinity symbol. We've seen renderings of this before, but it's moving forward. Great to remember the people who not only died, but also the people whose lives were affected that day.
Yeah, I think it looks beautiful and a great addition to the area in remembrance of what happened and the people that lost their lives. And everybody, I mean, pretty much everybody that was there was changed, and everybody that lives in the city was changed going forward. And I don't know, did you ever watch the 11 Minutes documentary? I think it was on like Paramount. Super interesting because, when you first heard the story, you're like, how did this happen? All this craziness. And they really did a good job of diving into that and talking to people that were there. And I found it really interesting and good insight into what exactly happened that day.
We still don't know a lot of what happened that day, which is super interesting. But yeah, moving forward, I was on the strip. Right after that, I went to the makeshift memorial at the Las Vegas sign and the downtown Remembrance Garden, which is still there. The city came together to remember all these people. And I remember the Golden Knights were new and they rallied behind it. And it was a great time to be in Las Vegas despite all the tragedy. And, 7 years later, remembering everybody. And I'm glad we're going to get this permanent fixture on the strip to remember this day. And it looks beautiful to me.
Yeah, it does. I think it'll look beautiful, at night all lit up and then from the sky and the infinity symbol and everything. It just looks like a really well done space.
So we have to say goodbye to another restaurant in Las Vegas. We've had a lot of restaurant closures this year, and I don't know why this one is more notable to me. I guess because I liked it so much, but Della's Kitchen at Delano is closing. It's been open for 10 years. They had that farm to table concept. It was closed for years during COVID though. Great breakfast. Every time I've stayed at Delano with a Amex FHR benefit, I use my breakfast there and have enjoyed many a meal. And I'm sad to see this go. They haven't announced what's going to replace it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the only reason that you care about this place is Amex FHR and getting that breakfast credit. I mean, it always looked like a beautiful space when I walked by it. I never actually used my credit there. I don't get up early for breakfast most of the time, so I would skip over. But it always looked nice and well done. And hopefully they bring in something there that fits the space well and has good food for everybody.
Yeah, it's the reason I ate there, Mark, but I actually really enjoyed it. It was one of the better breakfast restaurants in town. And it was nice that it was unique in the Delano space, quiet, kind of off the casino, so you didn't have to deal with any of that. It's a decent sized space and it's pretty open to Delano, so you have to think they're going to put something else there. So we'll see what happens. But let's go downtown. There was a big controversy this week downtown. I don't know if you've heard of the Bent Inn, but the owners describe it as the only gay, locally owned and operated 21 plus LGBTQ plus resort and bar in Las Vegas, but it's no more. I guess they're having some disputes with contractors and the lawsuits, and it's gotten all too expensive and they had to close it down. This is located east of Fremont Street in the downtown area. And, they put a lot of effort in trying to bring this place up and to make it work. And it doesn't seem like that happened.
Yeah, I had never heard of it before. And before the show, I looked it up and checked out some pictures and everything. And it actually looks like a really nice little like boutique-y type of place. With a pool in the center, and the rooms looked like they were pretty well done. So I don't know if this is from the main construction and they're still fighting over payments for it, or some things weren't completed the way they were supposed to be. But yeah, it looks like it could have done really well and for that community and everything. And sad to see that it just didn't work out that way. Hopefully, maybe they get it going sooner or later, or somebody else steps in and takes over.
Yeah, like you said, they did a nice job. So maybe somebody else can come in and take over the building and the brand and get it going again. But yeah, kind of a loss for downtown Las Vegas. Staying downtown, the Neon City Festival has announced the and more, all of the other acts. And I think they have a total of 23 acts there, in addition to their headliners, Alice in Wonderland, Neon Trees, Russell Dickerson, and Seven Lions. And then a bunch of these others that they just announced. I think Lit was on there. I think that might be the only one I recognized.
Yeah, I saw Lit. I was kind of excited about that, as 90s kids. Lunitz was, I don't know, I think that's how you say it. I got five on it. I remember that song from the 90s. And then Twista. He's probably the biggest name of the rest of that list. More underground before, and then had a couple really big hits. I think late 90s, early 2000s. So, our age group, they got some good lineups in the rest of the list down there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a full-on music festival. It's free. They're clearly putting a lot into it, and despite the Macklemore problems that they had, and putting this together last minute, so they haven't been able to advertise all of these names. They're still trying to sign people, and all of this stuff that went on. The effort's there, and I do think it's going to be a great thing. Don't worry too much about the names. Go enjoy it, roam around, listen to music. It'll be a great festival downtown.
I wonder if everybody does like their two hits and then gets off stage, because that's a lot of names, and they're all. I feel like a lot of them have like one or two really big hits, and then they just, the rest, who knows.
I feel like we should add Oyo to our MTM Vegas bingo card because we've talked about it so much in
Great.
the
Love
last
it.
month. It's crazy. Maybe it'll go off the radar here pretty soon. But we do have another Oyo story this week, and it is that they're going to start charging for paid parking. And this isn't a surprise. I used Tropicana a couple times to go to Allegiant. I would park there and walk across. That's obviously gone. Paid parking everywhere else in the area, and they don't have a lot of parking there, especially in their garage. So $8 a day is what Vital Vegas is reporting. 3 hours free for locals, all the other kind of stuff for elite tiers and stuff like that. We also learned one other thing. The Oyo garage will be closed for the implosion because it's too close.
Ooh.
And that makes perfect sense because it is right there. So yeah, we still don't know where anybody's going to stand for the implosion.
Boo! Like, give me the asbestos. Let's go. Let's blow that thing up and watch it. No, I mean, I can't blame them for parking, and $8 is reasonable. That's what you'd pay like in any major city, probably less than you'd pay in any major city to get decent parking. So at least they're keeping it like that, and they say you don't have to gamble too much to get it free. So there's a lot of ways to still get it free. And if you were going there because you love the Oyo, because who doesn't, you can still get that taken care of and everything. And somebody in the comments, I don't know if it was earlier this week or last week, put they still had the Hooters do not disturb sign that said no knockers, which I totally forgot about those. And it made me laugh every single time.
Another reason that Mark loved the Hooters in Vegas and still loves the Oyo. Yeah, I don't think $8 is bad. In the area they're at, they don't have much of a choice here. So not going to hate on them for this. And it's interesting, you could be in the hotel rooms that are right next to that site and you're perfectly safe. None of that asbestos and stuff is going to get in there. But if you're outside on the garage, you're not allowed to. Yeah, hopefully. Wear the gas mask, people staying in the hotel, just to be sure.
Yeah, bring out like a new filter for it, for the air filtration system. Bring one, swap it out yourself. You never know. They're usually pretty musty and dusty.
But a couple other things, New York garage. I know some people have said that. It's a little further away. You should be able to do it. Somebody suggested the airport parking garage, the roof. That would be a little bit far away, but you may have less people to deal with. And I'm still contemplating where I'm going to go or if I'm going to go. I hate messes like this and trying to find parking. And so we'll see. But I do want to go see this.
You definitely should. It's something unique. You might not see this for a while. So get in there while you can. I mean, airport parking, that'd probably be like a good option, a bit distant, like you said, but shouldn't fight the crowds. I mean, you'll have to pay the under 4 hour rate or whatever it is there, which shouldn't be too bad, but you should be able to get up to the top fairly easily and have a decent view.
As a reminder, we have our Patreon, $5 a month, get you access to our weekly after show. Have a feeling this one's going to be a little rowdy today. Patreon.com/MTM Vegas for all the information. Thanks to everybody who supports us over there. One of the cooler pools in Vegas is the Flamingo, and it's one of those old school kind of shaped in the realm of yester Vegas, kind of like Tropicana was. Anyway, it's really cool. People like it, and now it's under construction. It seems like they're taking out all the concrete in the pool area, and hopefully they don't change much.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the, I think it's one of the better pools in Vegas. I've always enjoyed that, hanging out there and everything, and the design and everything of it. And when you're coming around the monorail, it was always like, oh, what's that? That looks cool and everything. So I was surprised when I saw that they're ripping the whole thing out. I could see doing some updates, some upgrades, maybe cleaning up the bar area and stuff. It definitely is a bit older, but I didn't expect them to be like tearing the whole thing down. So hopefully they don't mess with it too much. It just comes back, looking nice and new.
We'll let people know when we know more. We don't really know, no announcements here. I'm guessing it's just maintenance. They have to redo the plaster and keep the pool looking nice and fresh. So hopefully that's all that it is. But speaking of the airport, we talked about it earlier in the garage. Clark County approved plans to expand the airport. This isn't the Ivanpah Airport, the one that they're going to build next decade. This is the sort of last final expansion of Harry Reid Airport. And the way it's going to work is there used to be a Terminal 2, which was the international terminal. And when Terminal 3 opened, that closed and that land is now vacant. So they're going to take the oldest part of the airport, the A and the B gates. They're going to build a new set of gates over where Terminal 2 was, and then they're going to demolish the A and B gates, build new gates there. The results would be Terminal 1 jumping to 65 gates and a lot less traffic and things like that there. New terminals for AB and these new gates. So it would bring everything kind of modern. The oldest parts of the airport would get refreshed, and we'd have a ton more gates.
Are you surprised that they're demolishing it and not just, refurbishing it and doing more of a quicker fix, or is it that bad you think that they needed to just start from scratch?
Some parts of those A and B gates, I think, date back to the late 60s, and the design is sort of cramped, especially when you get to the gates. There's not a lot of space. They've done their best to sort of keep it fresh, but when you go to the Terminal 3 or the D gates, you see the difference in the experience. So I feel like they don't have much of a choice. So they'll have to build the new gates first, and then that will give them capacity to tear down the old ones. So you're talking about a long process, and they still need to get the financing. One interesting thing about the airport, in the past, they've had to use bonds for their expansions, but it's been so long since they've had to do any bonds. Everything's paid off. They have all the money from user fees. That's what passengers pay, plus the slot machines, that they're fine. They're flush in cash, and they think they'll be able to do this just without any issue.
Yeah, I wonder, I've never seen a ranking of airports based on profitability or cash flow or anything, but with the slot machines and everything else, I'd have to imagine Vegas is top in the US, or if not, like, right up there in the top couple. So it's cool to see that they're not going to have to take any debt on to do this, and kind of amazing, really.
So this next one, I don't know where it fits in the show, but it was a fun video that Pete sent to me. And thanks to everybody who continues to send us stuff. And Tokyo Drift on the Vegas streets. I think this is at Eastern near the 215. And this guy just goes for it. And I think he pulled it off.
Yeah, I mean, we see this all the time, mainly on the strip, people doing donuts and stuff. Do you think it's like, is this a locals thing, or do you think it's people renting sports cars and they're like, you know what, I'm going to go do crazy stuff? Like, or is it a mix? I don't know.
It's a locals thing, I think. You see this from time to time on the streets. I think you probably see it anywhere in the country, but yeah,
No.
I mean, that guy has to practice a lot to be able to pull that off exactly. And then, this is a busy street, one of the busier intersections. And so he got lucky in that there wasn't any cars there. So I wonder if it was a split-second decision or he planned to do it all along.
Yeah, I'm guessing like once it cleared out, he's like, okay, let's jump on this. But it just goes to show, like, I feel like I do need to get a dash cam because of all the craziness that's out there. And so many times you see these accidents that, they probably would blame one person, and you have the dash cam. So have you thought about, I know Tesla probably has some cameras, but on other cars, have you ever thought about getting, a dash cam?
My Rivian has one built in. It records all 5 of the cameras at once, so it's already built into that. My Tesla actually doesn't have it because it's too old for that. The newer ones do. But maybe I should take my Rivian and try to drift like that.
Okay.
Vegas Visual is great. Shout out to him. I know he watches the show and he shares all kinds of great things on social media from the past, including this interview with Phill Ruffin. And I thought it was timely considering the rumors we talked about on the last show of Circus Circus being sold and demolished. We don't believe those rumors. But this is in 2009, and this is shortly after he bought Treasure Island for $775 million. And he's talking all about how rates in Las Vegas are too low compared to other cities, and how the rates have to come up. And this is something we've seen now 15 years later happen. And also he talked about how to build something like Treasure Island back in 2009 would have been $2.7 billion. And that was after he had done some research to build his own mega resort. A really interesting little interview.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's even more now, with the cost of everything going up. But yeah, it just goes to show that this was the greatest time in Vegas. Cheap. Everything was cheap, and they had people, working everywhere. It was great. If you had a little bit of money, it went a long way back then. 09 to 12, right there. Boom. Best time to go to Vegas. Sean was wrong.
Let's blame Phill Ruffin for ruining it all. He came in and he told all the other casino owners, you're not charging enough for your hotels. I mean, he even said at that time he owned 4 Fairfield by Marriott's in his portfolio, and that they were getting higher room rates than Treasure Island. And not that Treasure Island has gotten crazy rates, but he's never been willing to discount, especially during the week, like some of the other operators. And overall, he was just saying Vegas is too cheap, and he certainly got his way, it looks like.
Well, maybe it's just Marriott people like to pay more, because we've talked about how they're bringing more money to MGM than Hyatt was, and maybe they just don't care about price, or they don't pay attention. So maybe that's what was going on.
So first they took our water, and now they're taking our grass and trees, it looks like. I was just there last week, didn't notice this, but this picture going around on Twitter of them taking out landscaping in New York, We covered last year where they removed the water where the Statue of Liberty was over at Excalibur. All the water is gone. And now it seems like more desert landscaping going in as part of these water restrictions. I get that. I mean, we live under constant water restrictions here in Southern Nevada, and they're removing grass everywhere. But should the strip be somewhat sacred for this? Should we allow them to have this landscaped area that's lush?
Within reason, I think it makes sense, for design and everything like that. But there's ways around it. You could get really nice looking fake grass and put it in there, as one way to get away from some of the watering. But it just kind of is what it is, and we're moving on through it. And it's really shameful when it's like New York, and you don't have any water around the Statue of Liberty. It just feels weird. Some places it won't be a big deal, it'll make sense. Other places it's kind of like, oh, this doesn't work at all. So it is strange, but
Yeah, we can't tell a whole lot from this photo, so hopefully I'll get down there or we'll see some more of the changes. Again, I didn't notice them in person last week, but it is sad to see this all over Las Vegas. I live in Green Valley, which is now Brown Valley. I've said that before. I do understand the need to save water, but you have to think in the tourist areas, maybe some exceptions can be made, but I think MGM probably just wants to save money too. So we will see, but I doubt this is the last that we see of beautiful landscaping getting replaced with desert rocks.
yeah, I mean, they'll keep the fountains going. That's got more water than anything. So I think it all is just picking and choosing what they want to fight about or want to fight to keep. Because I don't see them drying that out anytime soon.
Well, thank God for that. We'll keep those fountains if we have to lose everything else. But let's finish with this. The long-awaited Venetian Status Match started October 1st, and we got some details. And I guess some backstory on this. Wynn and Fontainebleau both have done very lucrative status matches this year where they match you to status and you get the perks like spa credit, dining credit, a lot of the other stuff. So we thought Venetian would kind of join in on the fun, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. They are matching status, not from Fontainebleau, which is interesting, but from Wynn, other programs, MGM, Caesars, etc. But they're taking away so many of the benefits. In fact, they have this whole list of here's all of the benefits you're not going to get when you match to this status.
Yeah, it's basically just like an express pass or cut the line pass, which could still be useful, free parking, stuff like that. Especially if you're a local, I'd probably still go do it because then you can get into things quicker. You get priority access at the sports book and everything if you want to hang out and watch a game there. So I think there are some little perks, but you're definitely not getting any of the freebies that we've seen with some of the other ones. And I'm guessing they're not matching Fontainebleau because they know a lot of the people that have status there matched it from somewhere else and didn't earn it yet. So it doesn't surprise me too much that they didn't add it in there. But yeah, we would have liked to see some freebies, but I'm not too surprised that there's nothing attached to this. But free parking, cutting lines, all that stuff can save you time and money.
Yeah, this casino is run by private equity, and I think this shows they give you the benefits that don't really cost them much. And then anything that would cost them money, they're not giving to you. It's also not as generous in that it's good through January, so you have to gamble to keep it past that. So this really is, I think, a status match design in the old form of status matches. They really want to drive business, and if you're not going to do that, they don't care to. I mean, they'll give you free parking for a few months, but they're not going to invest a lot into you until you invest more back into their program. So I don't think most people should go out of their way to do this. But if you want to and you need free parking, I'll be over there next week for G2E. I'll probably do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the area anyway, you're walking by, you might as well take advantage of it. But I wouldn't there's some status matches in the past that's worth making a trip out there for, even like a flight. This is definitely not one of those.
I feel like status matches have become so big now that everybody is paying attention to them. We've done this in the Miles and Points. We pay attention to these all the time, but I see everybody talking about this on social media, and it got a lot of buildup, unlike some of the ones we've seen before. So I feel like these Wynn and Fontainebleau matches this year have gotten everybody sort of primed for this stuff, and they have to be careful. We saw the Tuscany have that backfire on their sign-up promotion and how they had to change the rules, and social media is changing the way this works, where these promotions have to be well thought out or they become way more popular than they expect when they're too generous. So I sort of get why they did it this way.
They got to protect themselves, and sometimes they just throw things out there and don't really think about it. We saw that years ago with New York Times, where they gave away a free Google Home for signing up and you only had to sign up for a month, and they freaked out about that, and people attacked us on the website and everything.
Yeah, they said we were going to put the New York Times out of business. They're still here, Mark, so I guess we didn't do a good job on that.
Yeah, we didn't mission not successful, I guess. I don't know. That was kind of a crazy, what was that, like 2018, 2019? It was a crazy thing. That guy was unhinged a bit, but yeah, lots of fun with all these type of things, and You know, sometimes you win, sometimes you don't, and this one's a loser. And Status Match Gate going along with Nacho Gate. Was that 2024 too, or was that 2023? Get all the gates.
I don't know. It was probably late last year. Or they opened in December,
Yeah.
so it had to be early 2024, something like that. But let us know what you guys think about anything we talked about today. The expansion to the airport. I'm actually very excited about that. The worst terminals getting demolished. The Oyo charging for parking. Where are you going to go for the implosion? Tokyo drifting on Vegas streets. Leave a comment. We do 2 shows a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. We'll be back in a couple days with another show. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks to everybody who continues to send us things. We really appreciate it. Talk to you next time.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend. Go Tigers.